it's Mike here. Today I'm going to be looking at Journal 52's week 33 prompt, which is comfort zone. So I'm in one of the last few remaining pages of my Strathmore mixed media journal. As you can see, it's nearly complete. So I'm going to be working in this today. Now it's going to be one of those journal pages where I don't know where I'm going. I've absolutely got no idea what I'm going to do, but I have a kind of general idea of what I want to use. I have some tissue paper, I have some pre-printed sheets that I've already done here, not showing you what they are just yet, that I know I want to use in the page. So this is going to be one of those pages where it's just going to evolve as I do it. So I'm going to start off by sticking down this tissue paper to the double page spread in my Strathmore mixed media journal, and I'm going to use the indigo blue slap it on gel medium. So from there, once that's stuck down, anything can happen. So like the old Twilight Zone, anything can happen in the next half hour. So I will be back in a few short minutes. Okay, so that's now stuck down. It's all nice and dry. I'm going to leave the tissue paper underneath just to act as a little bit of a protection. Just pull that off. Very last page there. So I'm just going to leave that down on there. I'm going to rip the edges of that off later on. So now I'm going to start layering down some of my elements before I add any colour at all. So this is where it starts getting a bit weird. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. So I'm going to throw some of that slap it on down onto the page, and then I'm going to bring in a pre-printed sheet that I've done. Now this is a picture of the Mona Lisa, which I've printed out in grayscale, and then I've sealed it because it was an inkjet printer. So I've sprayed it with a sealant, a fixative, to make sure that the inkjet ink didn't run when I applied the gel medium, and then I've actually just cut around the top of her head and some of the landscape, and then torn the left hand side. You can just see there I've actually torn it just so that I can blend that edge out a bit later on. So as you can see, it doesn't always go down first time, so you do sometimes have to add just a little bit extra, that matte medium, just to make sure that the page does stick down. The paper weight is only standard photocopier kind of paper, so it should have stuck down, but obviously I'm not working fast enough. I'm also not particularly bothered about wrinkles in the paper as well, because I think it just adds to that kind of crackled, texturized kind of feel to the painting. So I'm not really bothered about there being some wrinkles in there. Bubbles, yes, but wrinkles, no. So I've got rid of all the bubbles, but left some of those wrinkles in. So I'm making sure I'm putting plenty of that matte medium down to make sure that it does stick really well to the page. Now you can just see I've just torn the paper there, but that doesn't matter because it will get covered up later on. The plan is not to have this showing fully, but as an under paper. You'll see what I mean later on, but I'm not too bothered about that rip. I'm just going to have a little bit of a tidy up and a clean up, and all that matte medium that I didn't use up I'm just popping back into the bottle, so waste not, want not. Okay, so I'm ready for my first layer of colour. So this time I'm reaching for my underused gelatos. So I'm going to use mostly oranges, reds, and I'm going to throw in just some contrasting blues and greens in there as well. I'm just going to apply these gelatos directly to the page. I'm going to just blend them in with my finger. I'm not going to use a brush or anything like that. I will use a baby wipe a bit later on, but for the background I'm just going to blend it in with my finger for the time being. Some of these gelatos are brand new. The red one you can see me using here, and there's a dark blue that I use a bit later on, which were a gift in Happy Mail from Eva LeVay Barber. Thank you very much, Eva. I said I would use them, and here they are. I'm now going to switch from the gelatos to neo colours, and I'm going to be using a dark or the dark shades in the neo colours. I'm going to be using brown, I'm going to use grey, and I'm also going to use black. Now the black I'm going to use to extend the painting, so the black shapes or the black areas on the underpaper you'll see me extend with the black, so I'm going to blend them in, and hopefully it won't or they look as though it's gone right the way across the page. back with the gelatos then. So again, I'm going to be bringing out the orange gelato and just adding some colour to the upper chest area and the neck of Mona Lisa, and then I'm going to apply some colour onto her face. I'm not putting a lot of colour onto that because I don't really need to. You'll see why later. But I'm just adding in some colour just so that there is a little bit in the background when I carry on adding some further layers later on. And it's around about this time that I introduce the baby wipe to Mona Lisa. I will put some colour on, and then I will use the baby wipe to remove some in certain areas and just to activate the gelatos a little bit, but not make sure that they're completely wet, but just slightly damp so that they can be moved and blended a little bit easier. And of course, using your fingers to blend any kind of paint or colouring medium means that they get absolutely filthy. So you will see me cleaning my fingers quite a lot with the baby wipes because I don't want to cross-contaminate or get paint or colour in areas that it shouldn't be, and the only way to do that is to make sure your fingers are clean when you do it. I'm now going to pop those gelatos away. I'm done with those for the time being, and I'm now going to remove the excess tissue from around the pages. I'm done with adding the colour to the larger extent, so it's okay for me to be able to remove this excess paper from the edges of the papers. Now, I'm not too bothered whether I tear a little bit or it's not perfect, so it just adds to the overall effect in the end. I'm now going to bring in some waste pieces of other tissue papers that I've saved from previous projects. Rather than throw them away, even if they're only small pieces, I do tend to keep them for cases such as this. So you'll see me now adding some more tissue around the page just to break up some of those lines, and you'll see why I'm not too bothered about blending all the lines perfectly, because this does hide quite a few of them. As I'm applying the matte medium down, you'll notice that I do go over the top of the gelatos. This will help to blend the colours together and also to set them so that they become permanent. Here I'm just reaching off camera into my little bag of tissue scraps to find the piece that I want to use on the page. There are some quite large scraps and some smaller ones, so if there's a piece or a pattern within one of the larger ones, I'm just tearing it out of that and making sure that there's no square angles or right angles, because I just want them all to look kind of organic. Now I'm going to bring in another one of my pre-printed sheets. This is another printout of the Mona Lisa. This time I printed it out in full colour. But what I'm going to do is tear strips out of the painting and then layer those on top of the black and white version. So to make sure I get the fragments lined up exactly with the one that's already down there, my head's going to come in short. I do apologise for this, but it is only once or twice. I'm just going to give it a quick blast with my heat gun just to make sure that everything's nice and dry, and then I decide to add another fragment. So this is what I said, it's one of those naturally occurring art journal pages. Things just happen as they do. I'm now going to delve back into my tissue paper scraps and bring out some more, and this time layer those over the top of the fragments that I've just stuck down. So this is the last piece of tissue paper to go on. I'm just going to give everything a quick blast with the heat gun to make sure everything's nice and dry, and then I'm going to come back in with the gelato and add a little bit more colour. So sitting back and looking at the page, I realised that it needed something to lift it. So I wanted to inject some elements of white into there. So I'm taking out my indigo blue white gesso, or Gesso Good, and I'm going to apply some gesso through a stencil just around the page, just to add those points of interest. And I think that's all it needed, just to give that page a little bit of a lift. So on to my quote or saying for the page. I've already pre-printed this out using my computer, and again I've just printed these out on standard photocopier paper, and all I'm doing is just cutting them out using my trimmer, and then I'm going to stick these down onto the page just using that same slap it on matte medium. Now that my quote is stuck down and all dry, I'm just going to bring out my foodball pen and just go around each of the quote blocks with the pen, just to give it a little bit of an uplift, a little bit of a border to it, as I usually do. So this is my kind of standard way of doing it, and then I'm going to call this page done. So all I need to do now is just to add the date and a signature to my page, and we're all finished. I hope you've enjoyed watching this process video. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up so YouTube know that you want to see more from me, and also if you'd like to be kept informed of future uploads from me, then don't forget to press that subscribe button at the end of the video. Once again, thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll join me again real soon. Bye for now.